Hi, welcome to the Great White North Report. I'm your host, Roman de Sylvie. I had to wear my hat today because, as you can see, the light shines on my bald head. Anyway, for those who missed it, last Friday was the first debate between all the candidates in the Canadian election, and Prime Minister Trudeau skipped the First Leaders debate. So you basically had a debate with just the three main opposition parties. They had an empty podium showing Trudeau. So why did Trudeau skip the First Leaders debate? Well, many people think the SNC-Lavalin scandal likely had something to do with it because it painted a target on his back. Had the debate been this week, there would have been even more ammunition for them, as secrets in hands of the alleged RCMP spy that could have caused devastating damage to Canada and its allies was uncovered just this week. Trudeau might have known something about that, but then again, it's his appointee that's being charged. So that might be another reason why he skipped the debates, but definitely with the scandal handing over. So like I was saying, Trudeau skipped the First Leaders debate, and the Lavalin scandal definitely had something to do with it. Trudeau knew full well that they would dredge up all that stuff. And I love the cartoon. I agree with this cartoon. Oh my God, this is so boring. So there's a lot of finger pointing at Trudeau. They kept gesturing to it. As you can imagine, the party leaders ripped into Trudeau for not being there. And it's funny because they actually have his stand, an empty stand just waiting for him. And the candidates kept pointing to it, ripping into him. Anyway, while I was watching the debates, or trying to, and almost falling asleep, I noticed that on Twitter there was a drinking game going around about how you can make it more interesting. So I said, okay, I'll play along. Got myself a shot glass and got the soju out. And I said, okay, every time the candidates point towards the empty stand where Trudeau should be, I'll take a drink. And that's exactly what happened. Anyway, after my third shot glass full of soju, my wife said, hey, remember, you got to work early in the morning. It's like, oh, trying to work with a soju hangover is not something I recommend. Put a stop to that, and thought that was about the highlight of the night. So now the question is, who actually won the first Canadian 2019 election leaders debate? Because I don't think any of them really stood out in my mind. And the fact that Justin Trudeau skipped it. Now, Elizabeth May I have no time for. I don't know why she's on there, because she only has one seat in the House, and that was the very first time the Green Party ever had a seat. There's such a fringe of a lot of far left nuts out there, and they don't have a comprehensive plan to do anything. So I couldn't really see why she was there. Singh, he's there because New Democratic Party has always been the third party and the one that the other two parties look to if they want to ever form a minority government. It's basically down to the progressives and the liberals most times. So this interview, he ranks them as Scheer, May, Trudeau, and Singh. May, she definitely held her own. Her and her party don't really have a comprehensive plan. So I put Scheer, then Singh, then May, then Trudeau. Trudeau should have showed up. The fact that he didn't spoke volumes for me too. The debate covered four main issues: the economy, Indigenous issues, energy and environment, and foreign policy. And we'll take a look at the election platform that Maclean's put out last April to see what it's all about. Hold up the April 30th, 2019 federal election platform guide from Maclean's magazine. And this basically has everything you need to know. Now, I do know the parties tend to flip-flop on issues, or they say whatever they do on the go. They improvise. But that's what a politician is, a good bullshit artist. So here we got all the things that everyone cares about, and they dealt with the four. Let's dive into this. So according to the guide, the Liberal platform had no specific proposals. So basically they're still sticking with their 2015 election platform on that one. Now the Conservative platform has they would appoint a Quebec Minister of Canada, Economic Development, and a political minister from Quebec. Why? The Quebec economy is not as good as some of the other parts of Canada, from what I understand. Ontario's economy is much better. And a political minister from Quebec, why? Why do we need one from Quebec? Well, we should have somebody from Quebec on. I think the Conservatives are doing it just so they can take votes from the Bloc Québécois and throw a bone to Quebec voters. So there's really not much there economically, from an economic standpoint, from the Conservatives. Nothing concrete that I would consider. Now, for the NDP, they want to create 300,000 jobs through incentives and investments that flow from the party's New Deal for Climate Action. So I got to look at climate change next. They want to create a new 1% tax on wealth exceeding $20 million, including luxury items like real estate and investment portfolios. Okay, now 300,000 jobs. I know how you can create 300,000 jobs. Simply, you can stop importing foreign workers. I live in an area where every summer Mexicans and Jamaicans and work They work legally, but they do come to work on places where Canadians can actually work. Get those people, those lazy asses off welfare and unemployment and have them go work on farms. Scale back on those benefits during the summer months. Make them get off their ass and work. Simple as that. Not saying that everybody on welfare is capable of working. There are a lot of people who can work, they choose not to. Now, a 1% tax on wealth, that's not so bad. Luxury items like real estate and investment portfolios, sure, I'm all for that. Real estate and investment, especially on foreign investment that comes from China. Yeah, sure, let's tax their real estate that's here. Now, the minimum $15 an hour wage. The problem with raising the minimum wage is that you also raise the price of normal goods. Yeah, I'm making 15 bucks an hour, but now it's going to cost me. Tim Hortons is going to raise the price of coffee another 5 cents. The price of gas is going to go up 5 cents. Every time you have to buy something, the price also goes up because now it costs more to pay for the person that makes it, and that's where we lose out because now companies left Canada to manufacture cheap goods with cheap labor. So $15 an hour is not helping us at all. Now, banning unpaid internships out of educational programs, put in rules to require that part-time and contract workers be compensated equally to full-time workers. I agree with that. I know that a place like Format uses temp workers, and the temp workers get paid peanuts compared to the full-timers. I think full-timers make, they start at $22 an hour, while the temps make only $15, and they do the same amount of work. Though the full-timers have more opportunities to grow within the company. Restore the Automotive Innovation Fund that supports research and development initiatives of companies in the auto sector. Yeah, I can see that. Put a price cap on cell phone and internet services. That's something that's going to be hard to do. The NDP have a lot of things. Require employers to spend at least 1% of payroll on training for all employees annually. Where I work, we're constantly being trained. Without the 1% of payroll. Create a new Workers Development Opportunities Fund to expand training options beyond people who qualify for EI. That sounds like a complete waste of time. I have never used EI. Every time I've been out of work, I found a job real quick. Convene an auto summit with provincial, municipal, industry, and labor leaders to develop a consensus on the national automotive strategy to attract and retain jobs and investment. That seems like a waste of time too. If anything, someone in Canada should take the initiative and actually start their own Canadian car company. Keep it small. Make sure it's as green as possible. Give Export Development Canada a stronger mandate to recruit and retain investment in automotive plants and export-focused manufacturing here in Canada. Again, it sounds like a committee of old people making decisions they don't know much about. Require the use of Canadian-made steel and aluminum for infrastructure projects across the country. Yeah, I can agree with that if you can keep the price low. It's all about cost. Now, the Green Platform established a guaranteed livable income program which will replace various income support programs such as disability payments, social assistance, and income supplements for seniors. Now, already we have lots of programs for that, though I do agree with raising the income for seniors because seniors don't get increases in their pension. Now, the Green also says set a $15 per hour federal minimum wage. Again, not a good idea. Respect unionized employees of federal public service and bargaining process for rejecting back to work legislated as a bargaining tool. That's talking about the Canada Post strike. Seems like Canada Post strikes every year. Now the Liberals, for Indigenous affairs, the Liberals want to implement the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples as Canadian law. That's just, again, the UN is the biggest waste of time and money I've ever seen. Whenever the United Nations goes after somebody like China or Russia or Venezuela or Iran, nothing happens. It's a useless piece of work unless everybody's on board, like what happened in 91 with the Persian Gulf War. That's a waste of time. The Conservative platform, again, they have no specific proposals. The NDP, they also want to implement the United Nations Declaration of Rights. So basically them and the Liberals are trying to get the Indigenous people. The NDP also want to introduce Indigenous Peoples Day as a national holiday. I can see that. I wouldn't have any problem with that one. Work with Indigenous peoples to co-develop a national action plan for reconciliation. Again, we don't need reconciliation. We've already reconciled enough. Yes, things happened in the past that were terrible. We got to move forward. We can't look back on that one. The NDP want to establish a National Council for Reconciliation. Again, complete waste of time. That's like that U.S. idea, the idea in the United States of giving reparations for slavery. Come on. You can't turn back the clock on that. They want to co-develop the federal government's Arctic policy framework through shared governments with the Inuit Crown Partnership. Now, I agree the Arctic needs to be developed and we need to do something to save it, and the Inuit should be involved in that. The NDP want to establish a national day for truth and reconciliation. Jesus Christ, the NDP are so far to the left, it ain't funny. And this will cost people so much money, these programs. Now, establish Indigenous history education programs for all Canadians. I am all for having Indigenous history lessons, but I want to have an actual Indigenous person teaching it. And when you talk about Indigenous history, make sure you talk about all the good and all the bad, and make sure it's two-sided, because not all Indigenous people did great things. Lift all drinking water advisories for good. Why? If my water is not good, I want to know about it. If anything, they should go around testing the water, and if it's no good, resume and expand rural and remote bus routes and passenger rail service. I like that idea. The problem is population. We don't have a big enough population in the countryside anymore. If you go to Asia, public transportation is so cheap and so affordable because they have the people that'll actually use it. Create a Northern Infrastructure Fund to fast-track investment and focus on improving much-needed infrastructure like roads, broadband internet for communities in the north. Well, that's kind of what the whole pipeline deal is. Use money that we get from oil from the pipeline to invest in stuff like that. You gotta have money for all this. Establish a comprehensive plan to address violence against Indigenous women, girls, and LGBTQ1+2S plus people. We don't need a plan, we need action. So the NDP have got a lot of ideas because they know they're not going to get elected. So they're throwing everything out there. Also, the Green platform has to say is increase access to social housing for Indigenous communities. We already build houses for the Indigenous communities. If anything, we need to go in there, fix the infrastructure, find out what they really need, and do it. Now, with energy, the Liberal platform, again, had no specific proposals. The Conservative platform wanted to repeal Bill C-69, which I believe is the carbon tax. And I'm fully in favor of repealing the carbon taxes. Now, they want to end the shipping ban in northern British Columbia. Not really sure what the shipping ban in northern British Columbia is. End foreign-funded interference in regulatory hearings. I totally agree. Get rid of the lobbyists, because most lobbyists are also foreign-funded. If China has a problem, they'll go to the lobbyist, give them money, and those lobbyists will go give their side. Provide certainty on approval timelines and schedules. Again, too many times the Canadian government, regardless of who it is given a timeline, said we're going to do this by this time, and then within a year it's changed because something else has happened. Now, the NDP, their only solution for energy is to abandon the Trans Mountain Pipeline Expansion Project. Why? If that pipeline will get oil to the markets faster and cheaper, then go for it. Make sure it's safe. Put the extra money in to make sure it's a safe project that doesn't interfere in a lot of stuff. Now, the Green platform is a little more. They want to cancel the Trans Mountain Pipeline, eliminate all fossil fuel subsidies, including payments and tax write-offs. Do not approve any new pipelines or coal, oil, or gas drilling or mining, including offshore wells. Ban hydraulic fracking operations. Phase out bitumen production between 2030 and 2035. What are you going to replace this all with? They don't have a solution. You see all the wind turbines around my area, and you also see a lot of solar farms. The problem with solar farms is, where are they making a solar farm? There's one not too far from where I used to live. They took a 100-acre farm and created a solar farm. Well, guess what happens now? Now you've lost your farmland, so you can't grow crops. That's the stupidity about the whole solar farm idea. They put it out in the countryside, destroying the farmland, and then say, oh, it's great. If you want to put a solar farm anywhere, you put it like in an old abandoned building, kind of like the Ford plant that's closed in St. Thomas. That's a huge piece of property that cannot be used ever again for farming because it's contaminated. Put a solar farm there. It's huge. Also, the old railroads, all that track they ripped up, the railroad bed's still there. You could put solar panels on that and just hire someone to clean them off, to go down along the line and clean them off. So then they go to climate change and environment. They want to ban harmful single-use plastics by early 2021. That's a good idea. Might not, probably won't happen. People are saying, oh, you got to go paper straws and then metal straws instead of plastic straws. Well, the problem with those is they cause more emissions to make them than plastic does. Now, the Conservatives want to set emission standards for major emitters that produce more than 480 kilotons per year of greenhouse gases. And they want to invest in private sector research and development of green technology. Totally agree. That's fine. The emissions standards, That's hard because you can't put if you want to grow your economy, you can't put those kind of things in. Establish a green patent credit that will reduce the tax rate for 5% on income that is generated from green technology developed and patented in Canada. Good idea. Create a 2-year green homes tax credit for homeowners to help pay for energy saving renovations. Yeah, that's good. Review and update the invasive alien species strategy for Canada. That is something that has a major impact on us. So they actually have some ideas the Conservatives do on energy. Some are a little far-fetched. Some of them will cost money to develop. Now the NDP have all sorts of fun stuff. The NDP, they want to retrofit all housing stock in Canada by 2050 by providing low-interest loans through energy savings to pay for home upgrades like insulation, windows, heat pumps, and other renewable technologies. They want to modernize and expand public transit in communities across Canada. Yeah. Set a target of Power Canada with net-free, carbon-free electricity by 2030. That's not cheap. Energy right now is actually nuclear. It's still cleaner. The problem is people get a little edgy when they have a nuclear reactor sitting in their close to their backyard. Kind of like what the Simpsons have. So the NDP want to ban use of plastics as part of a broader waste reduction strategy. Protect at least 30% of our land, freshwater, and oceans by 2030. So they give numbers, dates. They want to reduce Canada's greenhouse by 2030, eliminate fossil fuel subsidies immediately, create a permanent direct allocation-based funding mechanism. Everything that's going to cost you money, which means your taxes are going to go up. This is why the NDP never get... Things cost money. Until you can do it on the cheap side. Canadian Climate Bank, $3 billion. Where are you going to go with $3 billion? Especially when you want to already raise the minimum wage to 15. Climate Accountability Office, regular audits. It sounds like more government. The NDP like government. So a lot of these will cost a lot of money to do and will take more time. They don't actually give a solution. So the Green Platform wants to double Canada's emission reduction target at 60% by 2030. Halt all new fossil fuel development projects. Why? I get new fossil fuel development, ship it overseas, sell it abroad, make the money to fund all these projects, or as well as create a reserve. Implement a nationwide shift towards non-nuclear renewable energy by retrofitting all Canadian buildings in Canada. Never happen. Now, foreign affairs, this is where the Liberals have really dropped the ball. Their handling of China has been a mess. They haven't done anything to really strike back at China. They didn't negotiate as good with NAFTA, and the whole Philippine garbage scandal did not make them look good. We almost went to war with the Philippines over some garbage, which was pretty funny. I did a video about that already. So when it comes to foreign affairs, Trudeau has been goes around the world looking like a pretty boy, but nothing. He's never accomplished anything. His foreign affairs policy has been a wreck. Now, I am glad that they haven't succumbed to the pressure and released Meng Wanzhou, because then they would have the United States pissed off of them. They don't have anything proposed yet. The Conservatives, they want a total reset of Canada's relationship with China, including a reduced reliance on trade with the country and new partnership with others, especially like-minded democracies in the Indo-Pacific region. I am actually all for kind of like a free trade zone with the British Commonwealth. Makes sense. We are a former British colony. Withdraw Canada's $250 million investment from China's Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Yeah, I could see that. I don't even know why it's there in the first place. Start talks to Canada to join the American Ballistic Missile Shield Program? Of course. We have let the Americans defend us for too long. And if the Americans don't want us in their missile shield program because of the cost, and we complain about it, we shouldn't complain. Upgrade the Royal Canadian Navy's submarine capability to protect the national territorial waters. All for that. I think we have 3 submarines currently operating right now. We need at least a dozen. I know it costs money, but hey, that $250 million investment looks pretty good in a Canadian submarine. Take a stronger stance against Iran by listing the Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization and using Canada's Magnitsky Act against Iran's human rights offenders. Yeah, I totally agree. The NDP want an immediate cessation of all arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Why? They're our biggest customer when it comes to light armor vehicles. Ensure Canadian-made weapons do not fuel conflict and human rights abuses abroad. Yeah, ask Trudeau how that went with the Philippines when he forced the Philippines to cancel the helicopter deal because Trudeau thought they could only be used for non-conflict uses. Why do you build an attack helicopter? The Green Party wants to review all NATO commitments. Now, NATO commitments are good. UN commitments, not so good. The UN can start leaning on its major members, other members, to provide soldiers and supplies. Canada's done its time for the UN. And it costs us more money when we need a period of refitting. But anyway, that's my look at the the election debate that went on and the policies, the platform. going through these platform things, the Conservatives have more better ideas right now. The NDP are all over the place and they're too far left. The Liberals have nothing. And the Green Party really doesn't have a lot. So anyway, that's my take on that. And let me know what you think in the comments box. Till next time, I'm out of here.
Well, today I got a government check. Am I gonna get drunk? Oh yeah, you bet. Gonna paint the town red till the money's all spent, then blame it on the government. I quit my job. Why?